FSC, Feszchak Speed and Custom Shop. Okay, so this could be part 2 of the differential installation of a 1974 Ford F-100. As you know, this Ford differential is a 9-inch rear, meaning it has the removable center section that comes directly out of the tube. First thing you see from the other video is you take the axle shafts, slide them out of the tube, take them off. Then you take the differential center section, unbolt all the perimeter bolts, wiggle and wobble, pry it out, get it out. It comes out as one unit. The ring gear, differential, pinion gear, it all comes out as one shot. Then what we did is we took the bearings out of the truck's actually over there. You take the bearings, the bearing races out of the axle tubes, the original stuff, and then you put it all back together with all new and improved equipment. Now, this particular differential I did not build. For just efficiency and speed, we went ahead and ordered a new one from Moser. It comes as a complete unit that's already rebuilt and ready to go. All I have to do is install it, put oil, some posi compound into the oil, and then fill it up, run it a while on a jack stands just to get it to break in a little bit better, and then away we go. Unfortunately, the truck has many other aspects of the retro mod that's going to be done to it. So the brakes are already completely removed. The engine isn't completely assembled yet. So at the conclusion of this video, there won't be any driving it immediately. But this truck has its own little video series on the channel. If you've been following the video for any length of time, you'll see the extent of the work I've done. Unfortunately, I didn't start making videos until after I was already well involved into this job. So there is kind of a little video montage of some of the stuff I've done. But what's more important isn't so much of what I took out of the truck and how it was when it first got here. What's most important is how it's coming along and what it looks like as it leaves here. So this is a huge job. This is part 2 of the differential job, one of many jobs. So with that, I'll explain what the parts are here on the table, and then we'll get started. So here we have a brand new pre-assembled differential by Moser. The original gear ratio in the truck was a 3.25. This setup here is a 3.89 gear ratio. I was looking for more 373s. They didn't offer it. So we went with 3.89. If my son decides he's going to put aftermarket wheels and tires on this thing, he's going to go with slightly larger than what came factory with it anyway. Besides the 3.89, it'll definitely pick up speed real quick. He's not looking to make something that'll have a high top speed. He wants to get up and go with a quickness. Plus the fact we're running positive traction means it'll be taking off on both rear wheels, not just one. So when you do a burnout with this puppy, it'll leave 2 distinct marks, no doubt about it. So like I said, it's built by Moser. It's all brand new, pre-assembled, ready to ride. So over here on the left, we have the axle bearing retainer brackets, and on the left, we have the new axle bearings. These will slide on the existing axle shafts. Since we have no plans on taking it to the drag strip and putting slicks on it, there's really no need to replace the axle shafts themselves. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so obviously the differential was pulled out. We cleaned out all the oil that was left on the bottom. It's still a little bit wet underneath, but that's okay. For now, what I have to do is clean up the gasket mating surface and then put some gasket shellac on it, put the new gasket, and then the thumb part is with one hand, or two if I can finagle it, get the new diff up and in, and then put the perimeter bolts in and tighten them down. Sounds easy, right? Well, now I'll clean them up.
Get any of the gasket material that may have spit in there out. I mean, it's gasket material, not steel, so some gears will grind up that felt stuff with no trouble. But still, try to get as clean as possible. Alright, so now what I like to use is this Indian head gasket shellac. My father turned me on to this when I was a kid. We've always used it for just sealing of gaskets. And a lot of guys love RTV sealant, and I guess that's fine. But I prefer to use this. I don't like the idea of the differential seeping or leaking if I can avoid it. Just put a little on this side, and I'll put the gasket on, and then I'll shellac the back side of the center section. Don't mind the flies. My shop is surrounded by farms, and this time of year they spread manure, and the flies tend to love it. And of course the locals don't like the flies, but we also do like to eat. Without farms we starve. So we deal with the flies once or twice a year. It's just not a big thing. So here we go. Slathered it up pretty liberally. Not too much, not too little. That's about how I like to see it. I'll put the gasket up on there. It goes like that. There we are. Now gasket shellac the diff and put it up. Sounds easy, right? Okay, so now we'll slather some gasket shellac on the actual differential now. Alrighty, that's that. Now the fun part. Spin it around and stick it up in there. So now I will take a break from the work, and I will allow my son to do the easy stuff. Considering my arms are now completely whooped from lifting that over 70 pound, as the box says, unit up into that axle.
Okay, so now the next step is to press the new bearings onto the old axle shafts. Now I've already pressed the old bearings off, as you've seen in the first video. So now I got to press new bearings on. I don't want to press directly on the new bearing. So I guess what they think is you can push the bolt on simultaneously with the collar that stays on. But I don't want to do that. I'd rather push them on separately, just so I don't have to press so hard. So the answer is I'm going to use the old collar that came off when I pressed the old bearings off the axles. And I'm going to take my die grinder with a stone and grind out the ID of this a little bit. That way this won't be pressed on. It's just basically a spacer. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit longer, and I'll use this to press the bearing and the new collar onto the axle shaft directly. So I'm just going to oval this out like I said. Okay, so I'll be honest with you. This is the packaging that Moser sent. And if you can zoom in on the part number, this is what we're using. Nowhere in here is instructions. Come on, Moser. A sheet of paper. So I had to look online. It's not like it's that hard to find it online, but alas, there it is. I could look in the stock Ford book all I want. These aren't stock axle bearings. So, the answer is this. If you look at the bearing, which way does it go in? Does this go to the outside of the truck, or does that go to the outside of the truck? The answer is the O-ring goes inboard. This faces out, that faces in. There is a difference in the face of the bearing. So that's your answer. In case you never knew, now you know. Okay, so now, once again, we will use the big 50-ton press. I'm not going to touch too much of a base on it, but from part one, you'll know that this press was built in the year 1947, and it still functions perfectly today. And I acquired it from a friend of my father's, and it's a great addition to my shop. I'm curious, leave a comment if you think I should blast this and repaint it, or just leave it look old and antique-y and pretty beat up looking. Some people believe I should leave it like this. Other people believe I should sandblast and repaint it. I don't really know. It certainly has character. Anyway, real quick about it, I guess. It's a KRW, again built in May of 1947, and it's pretty dang old. Be able to see the build dates. I think an old school machine like this adds character, meaning that it took a lot of soul and heart to build something like this back when they built things that were really made to last. And I think that it takes a little bit of this soul and transfers it into the work that we're doing. That's what we're all about here. All right, enough about the press. Let's get some work done. So we put the press collar that I made just to keep the pressure even, what they call a press collar. We're going to push them on together. We did one axle already separately. We didn't see the need. And then the O-ring goes on the inboard side like we discussed earlier. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bearing on the axle, press collar on the axle. Then I'm going to put the temporary opened up press collar to make it more even. Put it over the clam, which is already positioned over the steel blocks. And then now, wipe my hands first. Used axle shafts tend to be caked in oil. Alright, so raise it up. And then we release the pressure. And there we are. One axle. Okay, so now we're ready to put the axle shaft in the truck. Well, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of oil on this O-ring just to lubricate it up so it goes in reasonably smooth. And I'll throw a little bit of oil up in here and rub it around. PB Blaster, it's not like motor oil, it's not really oily, but it's not ridiculously oily to where it'll make a huge mess. I don't know, I like to use it. It's all the way in. So now all I have to do is put the brake plate on. It goes. So now we take the Moser bearing retainer bracket, put it on these here bolts, which also hold the brake plate in. Easier said than done, right? You ever watch any of those TV shows that are highly produced? You know the ones I'm talking about. You edit this stuff out. Like I discussed in the other videos, what do you suppose those holes are for? Impact socket will not fit through that hole. You have to use a standard one. Now, if this was an open rear, when I turn this, you wouldn't see that yoke turn if it was an open rear. This is posit traction. The reason you won't see that turn is because the other axle hasn't been installed yet. That's one. One to go. Okay, so same as the other side. Clean this out a little bit. Remember from the other video, this is the side that fought me. There was some sparks flying when I went and took the other race out of here. There we go. Solid. All that noise is the brake plate rattling around. The only thing hooking it up is the emergency brake cable. This side's just a little stiffer than the other one. There we go. Okay, so now what we have left is to put the posi traction compound in the differential and fill it up with 80-90 gear oil. After that, that part of the job is done. By the way, yes, I did check the vent from the differential out. We already removed the little stem that threads through the brake line. That's been removed because we have to put a new brake line in this still, because we're in the middle of the brake job still. Also, I did blow through the hose that goes up to the top of the frame to make sure it's not plugged. A lot of times they'll plug up, the differential will build up pressure from spinning while you're going down a road and start leaking out the seals, leaking out either the axle shaft seals or out the pinion seal, or even blowing out the back of the gasket where the cover goes, or in this case where the center section bolts to the main tube. So that's all clean and clear. I already checked that. Okay, so that concludes part 2 of the 9-inch rear differential replacement in the 1974 Ford F-100. So, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I am Steve Feszchak. This is Feszchak Speed and Custom Shop. What else can I build for you? Race out of here.
Now let's leave the blaster on the other side.
Blooper reel.
Don't like the idea of the differential seeping or leaking if I can avoid it. Of course, after years, it's inevitable.
Yes, I know we should be wearing glasses.
Let me get the angle.
Damn bird in here. Don't film him. Right on the gas line. Let's be moving on. Crap all over my shop.
Oh, I didn't actually get him until the end. Hold up, there he is. Alright, now if you want to say something.
I need to get out of my shop. I can't have bird crap all over the place. There's a bird in the shop. Alright, so let's film this outro and then we'll figure out how to get rid of the bird, the bird food problem.
And
Action! Okay, so now what we have left is